Oh boy, when it rains it pours. First Sony purging ecchi-VNs, then Tumblr banning adult content, and now this. Senran Kagura producer, we've stopped putting in sexual content with no narrative reasons.
Everybody panic! Oh my god!
Okay, so as pointed out by a few articles recently, Senran Kagura might be toning down its fan service elements, and I'll be honest, my first reaction was the expected righteous outrage, but I simmered down real quick, because if I were to give any team of developers the benefit of a doubt on something like this, it would be the Senran Kagura devs, and that is for one reason: choice. Now, we've seen developers go down the path of toning down elements that their core fanbase enjoys for various reasons. Games like Skullgirls, which removed an admittedly minuscule amount of fan service for personal design reasons, or God of War completely dismissing the sexual angle the previous games had because they wanted to create a game that would appeal to a broader audience. These games have one important characteristic that separates them from Senran Kagura's current situation. They chose to do it, and they wanted to for whatever reason. Senran Kagura, on the other hand, is effectively being held at gunpoint to adapt to the current climate, not only with Sony, but also with Japan itself. We'll get into that in a moment. Now, I know the producer, Kenshiro Takaki, in the past has floated the idea of toning down content for the West.
Kill him!
But not only was that idea immediately shut down online, but the original point he made was, and I quote, "It might be worth considering having features that differ depending on where it's being sold." Meaning he wasn't considering toning down the franchise, but instead only the Western version of the franchise.
Kill him!
These devs love what they make. They don't see fanservice as something that's suddenly evil, they just want to make a great game their fans will love. So what did I mean about adapting to Japan itself? The fanservice capital, right? Right? Well, in the article, Tataki states that the upcoming Tokyo Olympics are to blame.
But what does that have to do with anything?
No. He's got a point.
This is something I've never considered, since Olympics talk is ironically like talking Greek to me. But in 2020, the entire world will be watching Japan, and the Japanese government, from what I've heard in the past, is quite conservative and already holds fan service in contempt. It wouldn't be a stretch to think that they would do whatever they could to either stamp out the fringes of their culture, or to at least keep it under wraps for a while. I obviously don't think that has anything to do with the Sony situation Japanese devs are dealing with, but if true, then that means devs like Marvelous Studios are getting hit from both sides right now, which is sad to think about. Despite this, Takaki still has a positive message for lovers of fan service, thank you typo, saying that there are people that want to see sexual content, and there are people like us who want to make such games, so I'd like to think there's a way for us to slip our way through. Meaning they haven't thrown in the towel and made Burka Kagura burst just yet.
Phrasing.
Though I'm gonna be real with ya and say anime hijabs are kinda cute and would be a fun, if not controversial, customization item, especially if it was skin tight. And that's really where my interests lie: the game, its gameplay, its customization, and its presentation. When I read "stop putting in sexual content with no narrative reason," the hopeful part of me sees "stop putting in sexual content with no game reason." So maybe that's why I'm a bit more tepid on this, because Senran Kagura taking another look at how it implements its fanservice elements is something I would not be against. Nothing against shameless fanservice, that's fun in its own way, but if you saw my Peach Beat Splash review, short plug, you could see how I was a bit critical on how the fanservice was implemented compared to the previous title, Estival Versus, another plug. In PBS, the big fanservice element that the game was built around actively broke the flow of the game, going from a third-person FPS trying to score as many points as possible in a short period of time, into a lengthy minigame with honestly little variance since all the characters get the same white bikini no matter what they were wearing beforehand, all while the rest of the match keeps being played with your team down a fighter because you had the gall to want to engage with the fanservice elements. Compare that to Estival Versus, where every character has a series of quick clothing destruction moments when they take too much damage that doesn't ruin the flow of battle, and have finishers that happen when you defeat a unit near an interactable object. Again, not really breaking the flow of the game, since most of the time this happens at the end of a battle and not in the middle. If they are talking about making fanservice have a little bit more logic within the game, then I'd be down for that. Do things like increase the depth of the clothing damage system. Outfits being torn up during combat makes logical sense, and there are plenty of things that can be done with it, like PBS's inclusion of water attack induced transparency. or make grab attacks so that there are logical reasons to have the characters grope each other, or even have stages where certain spots blow wind up to get that whole Marilyn Monroe effect, instead of look up each other's skirts for a vague reason, as the article puts it. I know a lot of people don't expect fan service games to be good, since I've talked on stream about Senran Kagura's gameplay elements and was met with gems like, why does it matter, and I don't think about this stuff while playing, but if the game is built better, it will be even more fun to play. And if more fan service games treated gameplay more seriously, then they would have less of a bad rep within gaming as a whole. Obviously prudes will be prudes, but at least the genre won't have the stigma of fan service equals lazy cash-in product anymore. The article even talks about the plot of Senran Kagura, both in the games and the anime, and how they want to have serious elements complement the humorous ones. A few alarm bells do ring out, since that sounds a lot like Dead or Alive's "we want to be taken seriously" talk this year. And to this day, legend has it that if you close your eyes and listen carefully, you can hear the backpedaling of Team Ninja even now. The thing is, they even state that they want the humorous elements to coexist with the serious ones, so I want to give them the benefit of a doubt there. Their games do have this undertone of a very serious conflict with death, betrayal, growing up, and battling with Orochi, with creepy ass scale boobs, that I really liked, but despite that, back when the first Senran Kagura anime came out, I immediately dismissed it as simple generic fan service series of that year. And it didn't help that it was an ecchi series with zero nudity that came out the same year as goddamn To Love Ru Darkness. Hell, I still haven't watched a single episode of the new Senran Kagura anime, ironically with uncensored boobs and funded by Sony. So I do see them wanting to scream from the hillside that this franchise can produce more than just mindless fan service. On a side note, I have seen some people say go to PC where you don't even have to have the light beam censorship the game has, but ignoring the financials and the risk, honestly I find that the convenient censoring in the games is part of its charm, with, you know, the tatters of clothing, light beams covering them up, or even random objects placed just perfectly. I think those types of things are more creatively charged than simple naked bodies, but to each their own. Back on topic. I do fully admit that I could be blinded by a desire to see a franchise that I like do well. This could be all PR talk to try to soften the blow for hardcore consumers who are expecting the regular Senran Kagura experience they are used to. But for now, I am of a wait and see mindset. If they are trading in their miniskirts for generic ninja spandex, I'll drop them in a heartbeat.
Bye, bitch!
Because in the end, if there's a demand for something, someone will go fill it eventually. Never forget that whether it be Battlefield or God of War or Fallout, I actually have to talk about that one later. When these games don't give the consumers what they want, that just opens up the door for someone else to do it. And maybe they do it worse, but they could also do it better. Either way, hopefully it doesn't come down to that. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, maybe donate to my Patreon to help with the flow of the content, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!